Hey everybody, how y'all doing out there today? This is Bo. We're back in the house on the Z Sports Lounge. You know, we're always going after the stories that may fall off the written map, but there's stories out there that everybody knows about and hears about. Well, one of these stories happens to come out of the University of North Dakota. It's the head women's basketball coach, Gene Roebuck. How you doing, Coach Roebuck?
Very good, Bo.
Wonderful. I have to say is that until about a year and a half ago, I really wasn't really big on following women's athletic programs until my little girl started playing basketball, and I started looking on the internet quite a bit to find out stories, and it's very difficult to find stories out there in one source. Your story, your success, should be billed on almost every website, every radio station. You've got one of the most successful programs in women's athletics to date.
Well, thank you. I've been here 20 years, and we have, been very fortunate to get quality athletes, but not only that, but they're quality student athletes, and I think that goes hand in hand, and I think our success directly relates to the type of kids that we recruit.
And the national champions you receive, do you have one that you like better, that you really sticks out of your head, or all three of them just pillars?
Well, I think the first one is always the one that, you break the ice with the first one. And a lot of people say it's hard, to get there, but it's harder to stay there. So the next 2 years, we had a big target on our back, but our players knew what they had to do to get to the top and stay at the top. So I think each one built on each other, but the first one is very special because, again, that is your first national championship.
And you've got three, and it looks like your squad is a very young squad coming up for this season.
Well, we are young, but we're, experienced young. We have players that, definitely got a lot of playing time as freshmen. Some of those are, juniors now. So really, we have an experienced team coming back, but we also have some youth mixed in there.
Is that sort of the secret to your success, is a little bit of age and a little bit of youth?
I think any program, if you're going to be successful, you have to have a balance within your program. I mean, you can't have one class that goes through your system and then don't have any feeder players coming in that are, going to help the program go. And I think the biggest thing with us throughout the years has been our consistency with having players come in and take over for the good players that have left the program.
Now, with as many years as you've been coaching, what are kind of things you do in the off season to get yourself prepared for the incoming season?
Well, first of all the off season workouts are optional, but I think our team stayed in Grand Forks the whole summer, and they trained together, they lifted together, they got to play together, unofficially and all that stuff. And I really think that builds chemistry, and also, when you're able to lift on campus, you're definitely going to get stronger and quicker and faster because you are working with each other and encouraging each other to get better.
The biggest thing that I've seen the last several years, and it's just really within the 5 years that I've been following it in detail, between the WNBA and college sports, women have just been beefing up their game, the speed, the passing, the shooting. I mean, the fluid motion of basketball, and especially with the type of offense and defense you run, it really speaks loudly to that movement.
Well, I think so. I think women's basketball, it's like anything else, it's evolved. It started, basically really coming back in the 70s, and player skills really, started developing, I think, during the 80s, the mid-80s. And right now, just like any of the other athletes in other sports, with all the, training opportunities that, each athlete has, you're going to get bigger, stronger, and quicker athletes. And I just think our sport is a great sport. It's kind of a throwback to the way maybe the men played back, in the earlier years, where you played below the rim and not, above the rim like the men do now. And I think there's a lot of people, especially some of the old-timers, that really appreciate that type of basketball.
What I really love about the ladies' game is the fact that they're so fundamentally sound, and there can be fundamentally soundness in dunking a basketball and doing circus shots if you do it right, but the ladies' game is so it's almost like poetry at times when they run it well, where the only team in the NBA that comes to mind that even comes close to that is the San Antonio Spurs, and I do believe they're a dominant team in the NBA playing fundamentally.
That's right, and that's exactly my point. Is I really think within the structure of women's basketball, I know within our program, it's not who scores, it's we score, and passing the ball and moving the basketball is something that I think our players and I think women in general are very unselfish and are very team orientated, and I think that just makes for a better game.
And I think it's a reinforcement of the coaches really sounding home on the fundamentals as well. I watch the coaches, I talk to them, enough of them, and it seems like ingrained in who they are is so fundamentally development. In a lot of the guys' programs, you really go heavily on athleticism, and I think the kids miss out on some core teachings.
That's right, but you still have to have athletes if you're going to be successful. You've got to have the athletes, and again, we play below the rim, and I think there is a lot more fundamentals that you have to have when, you take the dunk away, and you got to get quality shots, so you got to be able to pass the ball, you got to be able to move, set screens, the whole ball of wax, and again, it goes back to I know in our system is revolved around, moving the basketball and trying to work the ball inside, and that takes a lot of teamwork. It also takes a lot of work on fundamentals.
Well, when you talk about all that passing and setting up and those championships, it reminds me of Larry Bird and his squad, where you watched him. It was fluid motion, ball passing around, open for the open shot, fundamentally on the shot, fundamental on boxing out. It's just, to me, it looks like a much better game, like it's actually organized, and that's what the programs like yours bring to fans like us developing.
Well, again, going back to the Boston Celtics, that was just a tremendous team and a lot of fun to watch them play. And again, our team, goes. We go back to the team concept, and that is everybody's got to work hard for each other. Everybody's got to believe in each other. And we've got to be very unselfish with the basketball. And if we're that way, then I feel we'll be successful. And our program has pretty much been that way for the last number of years.
I think the biggest thing, too, for your program is that when Coach Roebuck speaks, because you've got the rings to back up that you know what you're talking about. In 20 years, your record speaks volume over anybody's program. It's got to feel pretty confident when a player comes up that you've recruited and you say, well, I think we're going to do things this way. I know you learned it that way. How do the kids respond to the fact that you've been so dominant as a head coach?
Well, I really think it's a system. Obviously, we've been very successful within our system, but you have to give credit to the upperclassmen because I look at a senior. A senior should be a leader, and being a leader is to guide the young players into doing the right things in the classroom, socially, and also on the basketball court. And if you have good senior leadership, it makes it a lot easier for me to walk into a room and say, this is what we got to do, because those seniors have been through it for 3 years. So they're kind of like your assistant coaches, so to speak. And we've always had really good senior leadership that have really passed good things on to our younger players.
That's so powerful to say, is when you're not around, you've already got several coaches on the floor, whether they're juniors or seniors, to help implement what you're trying to do.
Yes, and again, that goes beyond just being on the court. It goes beyond that. It just your seniors need to be leaders off the floor, and even during the summer,